Hi YouTube, what's up? I wanted to do a bit of a video today to talk about something that I wrote in a blog post that seems to have resonated with a few people, which was about belief in yourself as a writer, which is a really hard thing to have when you first start out. No matter how much you want to write, sometimes it seems like a bit of an impossible dream because the journey to get from writing your novel at home on your own to having an agent and a publisher and a book on a shelf in a bookstore is a long one, and it takes a while to get there, and there are some fairly significant hurdles that you need to overcome. But it's not impossible, and it takes a certain mindset, I think, to be able to achieve it. And so let's talk about it. I suppose the obvious place to go back to talk about this is the start of my journey. It's 10 years ago now that I first set out to write a novel, and I had no idea how I was going to do, whether I was going to finish it, whether it was going to go well, whether it was going to be awful. I think it was probably awful. But it was a long time before that I had wanted to write. When I was at school, I think I was good at English and English literature. I remember one of my teachers sitting down with me at a parents' evening and telling my parents she should go and study English. But I didn't really want to be a journalist. I didn't really want to be an English teacher. I kind of wanted to be a writer of novels, which was obviously one of those, like, yeah, I want to be an actress kind of aspirations. It doesn't seem very feasible. And I know when we were having our careers interviews, it just seemed like this lofty aspiration that was never going to come to anything. And so I never did anything about it. I went and studied something else. I got a job as a scientist. I worked in the NHS in the UK for years. And I liked my career in the NHS, but I didn't really love it. I didn't really take a passion for it in the same way that this desire to be a writer burned inside of me. And so following the dream to be a writer was one of those things that you sort of talk about, oh yeah, I'd love to be a writer, I'm going to write a novel, and then a year had passed and you still hadn't done it, so I'd make a New Year's resolution and say I'm going to write a novel, and then I might write a few scribbly notes, and nothing really came of it. And it was all about mindset. I never really believed I was going to be able to do it. I don't know whether I didn't believe that I was not going to be able to write a novel, or whether I was not going to be able to find an agent or a publisher or be a bestseller, or all of those things that you think about when you have your dream to be a writer. But there was something about my dream that felt unachievable. It felt unattainable. I didn't think that it was something that I could do. When I first set out to write my first novel, it seemed like too big of a deal to really consider the end point. Before that, I'd been thinking about, BAFTA nominations. But when you actually come to start trying to fulfill your dream, because I kind of got to well, it's now or never. I'm never going to be a writer if I don't write something. So I decided to sit down. I decided instead of sitting in front of the TV, I was going to sit in front of my computer every night. But going from blank screen to complete manuscript was too great a step. It was too big a leap. I could not envision that future. So I tried to take it back a notch and envision just each step of the way. So today I need to write this scene. Today I need to write 1,000 words. Today I need to edit that bit. My idea of editing back then was limited, but I had some clue that you had to edit to write a book. And I just didn't really tell anyone about it. I didn't make a song and a dance. I just went home every day, got my computer out, took some annual leave when I thought that I needed to try to work on it with a bit more intensity. And slowly you build the manuscript. Now, there are different sections of writing a novel. Some people hit a wall early on, some people hit a wall midway through, some people breeze through a first draft in 27 days. For me, it took about 9 9 to 12 months, I think, to get that first draft down, working after work and during annual leave. But it wasn't until about sort of 60,000 words in that I started to tell people about it, because I was a bit embarrassed, really. It seemed like such like a flight of fancy or something to waste my time writing a novel that probably nobody was going to read. But I finished it, and that was the only important thing about that novel. I sent it out to agents. I tried to take it the next step, and it wasn't good enough. And that's okay, because what I learned when I wrote that first novel is that the only thing that really needed to change between me wanting to be a writer and being a writer was how I felt about my own dream. I needed to believe that it was a possibility. And whilst I didn't manage to make it as a professional writer with that book, it was all I needed to do to sit down and write it, one chapter at a time, one page at a time, one sentence at a time, to know that it was possible to write a complete book. And that meant that I could write a second and a third and a seventh until I actually got representation. I obviously had a long way to go. The mindset about you believing in yourself is so important, because it's the only thing that really stands in your way of sitting down and writing your novel. I made this video today because what I wanted to really get across is that there's a lot of people who would quite like to be a writer. There's a lot of people that have probably got really great ideas or have written a couple of chapters and then don't really know where to go with it. I can't tell you how to get the rest of those chapters down, but if you got number 1 and number 2 down, you can get number 3. It's about having the belief in yourself that you can achieve it and ignoring the naysayers, because you will get people that go, you want to write a novel? Great, yeah, of course you do. Like when you say, I want to be an actor or I want to be an astronaut, people go, oh, that's a nice idea. But it doesn't have to be an idea. It can be something that you actually achieve. I think there are certain things that you need to do in order to achieve it. You'll have to make sacrifices. Instead of the TV, you work in the evening. Instead of going to bed early, you go a bit later. Maybe you need to get up early. Maybe you need to work on your commute. Maybe you need to work at lunchtime. It is hard. I wrote my first novel when I was in full-time employment, and I was doing a lot of on-call, working at different times during the night and at the weekend, so finding time wasn't always easy. But I just had to put it mentally as a priority to say, this needs to happen, this is what I want. And that way, it came true. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are a person that is trying to get from a writing dream to actually being a writer, if you are trying to inspire yourself to write those first chapters, leave a note in the comments, we can talk about it. If you're on your agent submissions, such an important time, let's talk about that too. You can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Facebook. You can keep updated with the things that I do or sign up to my newsletter via any of those channels. You can also subscribe to this channel. We can talk about writing. If you've got anything you'd like me to discuss, just leave a note in the comments. And until next time, have a good week and happy writing.